What's going on, everybody? The original Mako back with another shark scale video today. And for this one, we have another one that I just finished, and that would be Cyberpunk Edgerunners. This one hasn't been out for too long, and I heard, there's a lot of hype around it, so I was like, fuck it, let's let it ride. I've never played Cyberpunk. I have never been invested in the Cyberpunk world, so this was the very first experience of Cyberpunk for me. What I'm going to say is I am genuinely interested in playing the game now. The games. And just, learning more about the world, because the only thing that's a little bit disappointing, but not like the worst case scenario for me, is that the creator of the show said this was always meant to be a one-season thing. Even after the great reception of it, they're not really planning for doing a second season, which is fine. The story does conclude. But man, I wish there was more, for a lot of reasons we're going to get into. So let's go ahead and start talking about it a little bit, shall we? First category here, we have the characters. And for the characters, I think they did a great job. And let me tell you, this isn't something I have mentioned in, I think, any show on this list or any shark scale video I've done. But in this case, this needs to be mentioned. I watched, as I do the majority of my shows, sue me, I watched it in dub. The dub voice actors for this show were unbelievable. Unbelievable. Every single character felt like it fit them so well with their voices, and they were so unique and just really brought these characters to life on a whole other level compared to a lot of shows. Dare I say this might be one of the best dub voice acted shows I've ever seen. Naruto's up there. This show's up there. Death Note. But some of the characters in Death Note are kind of iffy. This show, it's every single character is unreal. And that makes the characters more enjoyable because it's more, they have more personality with a great voice actor. So the voice actors were phenomenal for the dub. Not to mention the characters themselves are just fun characters to learn and grow with. The whole main crew, you learn a lot about them. You don't get to go too deep into each of them. The main ones you do, obviously, but not all of them. I think this show could have been a little bit longer. They could have maybe told this story in 2 seasons or a few more episodes and maybe gotten a little bit more backstory on a couple characters. I think it would have made it a little more interesting and just, make me want to delve into the world even more than I already do. But I think the characters were phenomenal. And once again, due to the amazing voice acting, it made it so much more personable. And the fact that they got through so much of the characters in a short time, I think is pretty impressive. But I do have to give them a little bit of a penalty just because there's a lot more I wish I would have known about some of the characters. Like the doctor. What's his... How did he get where he is? Kiwi, we don't get too much on Kiwi's backstory. So just stuff like that. So I'm going to go, geez, I can't go too high, but I don't want to do these characters a disservice for how good they were. So I'm going to go 91. I think in the 90s is fair, but I'm not going to go upper 90s because once again, you don't get to really flesh out and feel, for all of the characters, in their own unique way. But I think they did a really, really great job with the characters in this show. I just wish they had a little more time. Story. I think the general story was great. Once again, I had never played any Cyberpunk or anything. This is my first ever Cyberpunk experience, and I don't know if this story has anything to do with the story in Cyberpunk. I'm guessing it's slightly different. But it was a really interesting story about, honestly, not even like, there's not like an end goal per se in the show. It's just kind of a development story, developing the characters and an individual story for David and kind of how he, where he was to where he gets to, kind of thing. And they did a great job telling it. I was invested the whole way through, and every episode was phenomenal, exciting, action packed, just beautifully done. I think the pacing was phenomenal, and I was intrigued the whole time about what was going to happen next. I really was. Also, fair warning, we might get into some spoilers throughout this, so just so you guys know. But regardless, I think the story was great. It didn't blow me away or anything. It wasn't once again, I always go back, the prime example of story is Attack on Titan, in my opinion. I think I gave it a 100 out of 100. Just because there are so many twists, turns, and it starts off as a show about Titans eating people, and it ends up a show about it's you could write political papers on the show. It's unbelievable. But this show is good. It's a good story. It's a fun story to follow, action-packed, exciting, edge of your seat type of action the whole time. So because of that, I'm going to put it in the upper 80s, and I think I'm going to go an 87. Once again, I think it could have been expanded a little bit. Not expanded. It could have been taken more time to tell the story. But overall, I was, once again, thrilled with each episode. So a good job there. The world. The world is kind of what I feel like is the juice of this entire show and probably the games. Not knowing anything about Cyberpunk, the world in this show is what makes me want to play the games. I want to experience this world in a game. It's so beautifully done. It's a beautiful post. Not apocalyptic is not the word I'm looking for, but just a super in the future, futuristic type of world where, you've got all this insane, incredible technology and just unbelievable, people have superpowers that can get implanted in their skull and all of this unbelievable shit. But then when you look and dig deep, you still have homeless people in the slums, people struggling to eat, people struggling to pay their rent, people who have to, pay for different types of care, where if you get injured, if you don't have a certain plan, people actually literally won't even go to help you at all. You just don't get helped because you didn't buy the premium plan. All of this, these things that would come in a dystopian future type of world where, everything is so money reliant that it has all these different, so many intricacies in the world. And this is one of my favorite anime worlds I've dipped into. And like I said, it's a 10 episode show. And there was enough in that 10 episodes, enough of showing off this world. And like I said, I think it's the whole main meat of what Cyberpunk Edgerunners is. It's talking about this world and the things people have to go through to just make it in this type of city. And it was ridiculously good. Like I said, it's another case of just phenomenal work by was Cyberpunk Edgerunners Studio Trigger? I want to say it was Studio Trigger, who also did Kill la Kill, I believe. Regardless, the animations were fantastic, and that's not even what we're talking about, but it looked good. It was a fun world to explore, and it's the main reason I would want to play the games in the future. Do I have a 100 world? I'm curious. Ignore the top one. I do have the Naruto as 100. I do have Attack on Titan as 100. Or 90 share. Okay. So I think if I'm comparing it to those, Like obviously the whole ninja world, the Attack on Titan one is incredible as well. So I'm gonna give this one about as close as you can get. I'm gonna give the world a 99. Like I said, I just wish there was more time to really dig deep into it and explore it a little bit more. But a 99, I think, is very well deserving. Music for this show. So this is the whole OST, everything. Okay. The intro is okay. I like the intro at times, and I don't like the intro at times, like in the actual song, like throughout the song. However, during the show, the soundtrack during the show is amazing. I mean, it is so good. Every single song you're hearing throughout the show, whether it's during a fight scene or not during a fight scene, just as background music, is so much fun to listen to and just adds that extra little layer of ambiance, which helps make the world what it is. And man, it's really good. I'm going to take a little bit away just because the intro, I wasn't like, everything was so good and then the intro just didn't really blow me away. So for me, I'm going to give it a 95, but overall, phenomenal. Just downright incredible. And you love to see it. Next up, we have the animations. I don't feel like I need to go into too much detail about this one because it's pretty cut and dry here. The animations are done gorgeously. The fight scenes look great. The city looks great. It is a very, very bright and vibrant show. They absolutely nailed the look of the city, and like I said, the fight scenes are gory and smooth and well done. The Fast and Furious scenes that are in the show are smooth, well done, just over the top where you want them. So I think the animations are fantastic. Our pinnacle that we compare to with animations is Demon Slayer. Are they Demon Slayer level? No, but they definitely pack a hell of a punch and I think deserve upwards in the 96 area for animation. And then that leaves us with one last category, our overall enjoyment. So I'd be lying if I said this wasn't one of my favorite animes I've watched this year. It has a really, really, I don't know if satisfying is the right word, but it has a really, really good conclusion. So it concludes, which means even though there is no second season, that's not going to take away from my overall enjoyment because the story does conclude. You get what you signed up for when you start watching the show, which is a story that gets told, and it gets told to its end. I do wish there was a little bit more because there's a couple other things I would like to see what kind of happened. But David reaches his, once again, potential spoilers. David gets all jacked up on his cyberware and the story is leading up to him going psycho crazy, and eventually he does, right? He loses it, but Lucy is of course there to bring him back, and he does everything he possibly can to make sure Lucy gets to live out her dream of leaving the city and going to the moon. And he learns throughout, he's like, this wasn't made for me. I can't escape this city, but I can help other people because I'm sick of watching people I care about die. And he has this whole internal like hero moment, which is what you kind of want. And you want to see that, and you do get to see that with David, and it's really, really good. And, you get the satisfaction of, spoilers, Lucy going to the moon as the last scene, and in that moment, all of the story, all of David's work, everything he's been doing, training for, all that cyberware, his death, it all just finally is paid off by having Lucy go to the moon. And there's just great twists and turns in there with Kiwi and her little story arc, and never trust a person in Night City type of thing that she had going on. The whole crew in general, when they were all together, it was a really fun group to watch progress. I loved this show. There's nothing else to say about it other than I loved it. I think it was phenomenal. I wish they just spread their cheeks just a bit more to extend the storytelling and let them tell a little bit more of this story. But regardless, I enjoyed it a lot. The only reason I'm not going to go a little higher here is because they didn't quite spread it out as much as I think they could have, or maybe even should have, just to tell us a little bit more, get us a little bit more detail, get us more attached to these characters. But c'est la vie, regardless of all that, I still think that my overall enjoyment was definitely near a 90 for this show. This is a show I would absolutely watch again, and I would love to watch again. And like I said, it made me want to play a Cyberpunk game just to experience the world a little bit more and be kind of a part of it. So there we have it for Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Let's do our final totals, and I can almost assure you this one's about to break the top 10, I think, but we'll see exactly where it is. 87, 99, 95, 96, 90, divided by 600, a 93 exactly. 93 out of 100. I think that's totally fair. This show was where's the undo button? Let's not do that. There we go. Let's cut. And let's go 93. Almost there. What if we don't crack top 10? Oh, it's barely going to do it. Well, actually, hold on. Okay, so right below, right at the 9 spot would be the correct placement. Okay, so Cyberpunk Edgerunners, there we go, a 93 out of 100, knocking Darling in the Franxx down to our top 10, the thing that rounds out our top 10. The day Darling in the Franxx falls out of the top 10 is the day I redo my list. God, I loved that show. I really did. My overall enjoyment should be 100. The story is the only thing that held it back. Okay. Well, there we have it, everybody. Safe to say, I mean, this was one of my favorites I've watched up to this point, and I would highly recommend, if you have not seen it, to go give it a watch, because it, like I said, it hits all the key elements you want. Over-the-top action, constant action, good pacing, a great story that you want to follow along with, great characters. I shit you not, if you watched it and watched it in sub, please watch it in dub. Just to hear the voice actors. They're so good and so unique for each character. The animation is beautiful. It's smooth. It's done well. There's gore. It has everything you really want out of a show, so I highly recommend it. But regardless, that's it for this Shark Scale video. More coming soon. Vinland Saga is next on our list, so we'll be going with that one next. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you all have a wonderful rest of your day. If you have watched this show, let me know your thoughts down below, as always. And yeah, I love each and every one of your faces, and I will catch you all in the next video.